let's talk a little Charles Bediako, shall we? And for those of you that don't know,
Yes.
Charles Bediako, former player at Alabama, went into the NBA draft, went undrafted, did not play a game in the NBA, but played in the G League, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then a couple of weeks ago,
correct.
was like, hey, I'm coming back to Alabama. And he gets a restraining order from a judge from the NCAA who is like, no, you're not. You can't do this. You literally not only you tried to get drafted, you entered your name into the NBA draft, which when you do that, you lose eligibility for the NCAA. Then you signed a G League contract. You played minor league professional basketball. You cannot come back. And he goes, to hell with that. And the judge was like, yeah, here's a restraining order, man. Go play for Alabama. And he's plays in the last 5 games, playing some decent minutes off the bench for Nate Oates. And then today, we get the reversal of that, basically. We get the reversal of that in that you get a Tuscaloosa Circuit Court judge denies his motion for a preliminary injunction the same day that restraining order is about to expire. So basically the NCAA was like, foot down. A judge was like, foot down. You're not playing. You're done. See you later. And, there's a couple of different things that come out of this, but I'll ask you first here. Is this a win for the NCAA? Because there's other players like Amari Bailey that are basically like trying to do this, trying to test the waters, playing professional basketball in any kind of degree, in any kind of aspect, and then trying to come back to college hoops. It felt like this was necessary. This had to happen to make sure that the precedent stays that once you forfeit your amateur status, I don't care what players are getting paid now in college, you can't become a professional and then return to the college ranks. I think this is a big win for the NCAA, big win for amateur athletics, which is what college hoops and college athletics, no matter what the players are getting paid, at its core should be. You agree?
Totally agree. And this is going to set a precedent where guys like Amari Bailey are probably going to be disallowed from rejoining the collegiate ranks. He's been in contact with GCU, Grand Canyon University in Glendale, Arizona. A guy that actually played a couple of NBA games, did Amari Bailey. So we already saw action with a real life NBA team in the Charlotte Hornets. Unlike Bediako, only saw action in the G League. But yeah, once you sign a professional contract, whether with the G League team, NBA team, that should be all she wrote in terms of your eligibility in college basketball. The argument is, look at all the European guys that have come over, and they all play for my ILL, a number of professional guys that come over from the Adriatic League in parts of Europe, other parts of Europe, from some of the French leagues, the Spanish leagues. There has been a bit of a trail of those guys that have made the jump to college basketball over the years, and there's been no pushback whatsoever. But it's not all baked the same, in my mind, between the Euro pro leagues and the pro leagues in the United States, particularly the NBA. So if you sign a deal, whether it's with a G League team, and essentially a NBA team that has your rights, Bediako's rights, I believe was with the San Antonio Spurs. That's it, man. You're done. That's a wrap. And he filed the injunction. It was granted to a very partial Alabama judge who had connections to the University of Alabama. In fact, he was a donor to the University of Alabama in the athletic program. So a little nudge, wink, wink, nod, nod. I got you, kid. No problem. And so, he was able to file that injunction successfully. I was on the court for a handful of games, played meaningful minutes. He was desperately the rim protector that Nate Oates needed. He was averaging around 10 points per game. He was averaging around 5 rebounds per game. The problem with Alabama, and just speaking to the basketball side of this, not the legalese, is they are desperate for front court depth because they don't really have it. This team is a definition of live and die by the three, which they normally are, but at least they have some decent front court players. Sherrell's got to step up. Amari Allen's got to have to really step up. This Alabama team, because they know, he wants to win a national title. He wants to get to at least a Final Four. There is a lot of doubt now that sinks in with Bediako, no longer part of this school, no longer part of the rotation. If the threes aren't falling for the Crimson Tide, they're going to get bounced early in the NCAA tournament. I got them right now as a team sitting on the 6 seed line. I think that standing is going to be in jeopardy, though they have a decent schedule down the stretch, some additional quadrant one opportunities. We'll see what the full body of work is at the end of the day. But, there's a potential they could be like a 7, 8, 9 seed if they have a losing streak down the stretch, or they, wind up maybe as high as a 5 seed if it goes the other way. But I don't think they're going to survive the first weekend without the services of Bediako. So, yeah, lots of ripple effects with this. But, yes, I think this is an actual win for the nutless NCAA, and also, too, for just, as you mentioned it, amateurism in general, though I'm putting that in quotes, amateurism, because there's still semi-pro players making pretty fat stacks of cash through the NIL programs that are out there, and Alabama's got a pretty wealthy one. So, yeah, major news with Bediako now donezo for the season for the Crimson Tide in terms of basketball and in terms of the sport overall, what guys can and cannot get away with in terms of eligibility.
Yeah, now the debate shifts to the other 4 players here that are currently in college basketball, playing college basketball, that also were in the G League, and that is Thierry Darlin for Santa Clara, London Johnson from Louisville, Abdullah Ahmed for BYU, and James Najee for Baylor. The difference between them and Bediako, they never played college hoops before. They went straight to the G League, which is made possible now with the the G League Ignite. It's essentially you don't play college hoops, you go straight to the G League, and that was a kind of a way to get around you're not allowing players to go straight from high school to the NBA, and maybe you don't want them to do the one and done. You kind of want them to go right into what is a development course for the NBA. And those guys, these 4 players did that. They never played college hoops, but still they were playing the G League, essentially professional basketball. And now they're back in college hoops, and they're still being allowed to play. So now we'll see if there's a judge or the NCAA wants to rule that their eligibility is now forfeited. But yeah, like you said, this was a major precedent set, and I think it had to happen. If you play college hoops and then you go play professional, you enter the NBA draft, you can't come back. You cannot come back. If you want to go play in the NBA and you're like, hey, man, I'm going to take a chance here that I could become an NBA player, sign a 2-way contract. Oh, it didn't work out. Oh, I can still get paid $2 million a year or $1 million a year. Hell, even if I get paid $300,000 a year to go play at Alabama or another power conference school and get a little NIL check, yeah, I'm going to go do it. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. So that's a big, big decision that came out today over the last 24 hours as it pertains to Alabama's Charles Bediako.